So as you can probably tell by the thumbnail, this video is going to be about Mitch Marner and Lorenzo Insigne. More specifically, this video is going to be about my opinion on their departure from their respective Toronto teams. I was going to make a video on them individually, but then I decided in my infinite wisdom why not just combine the two since there are some parallels between their departures. As you can probably imagine, this video is going to be more opinion based and not necessarily objective, so yeah, keep that in mind. We'll start with Marner because, let's be real, the majority of you probably clicked on this video for him. Mitch Marner was drafted 4th overall by the Toronto Maple Leafs in the 2015 NHL entry draft, which was a very stacked draft year, by the way. Marner had been absolutely tearing it up in the OHL. He got 126 points in the season before he was drafted, so hopes for this guy were pretty high to say the least. Marner debuted alongside rookie sensation Auston Matthews, and for the next 9 seasons, they, along with other key players, would tear it up night after night, captivating the hearts and minds of fans. There was only one problem. The team kept losing in the playoffs. Whether it be the first round or the second round, they came close multiple times, but they just couldn't get the job done. Now, that's not to say it was all Marner's fault, but considering how much money he was being paid, and the fact that he was unable to score in Game 7s, it was only a matter of time before the fans started turning on him. You probably already know how this played out. The Toronto Maple Leafs traded Mitch Marner to the Vegas Golden Knights, in a sign-and-trade deal that brought Nicolas Roy to Toronto. So what do I think of this? Well, I think it was for the best. Don't get me wrong, those playoffs exits were not all his fault, and he is a very talented player. 100-point wingers don't just grow on trees. But for me, there are 3 main reasons why this trade made sense. Number 1 was that Mitch Marner was almost certainly going to walk at free agency, so it was better to get something for him over nothing. And it's not like Nicholas is a bad player by any means. The second reason is, he was bleeding the team dry. I remember how much of a fiasco it was to try to get this guy signed in 2019, and all of Leafs Nation all had a collective exhale when it finally happened. $10.8 million is a lot of money, and like I said, he's a very talented player, so it's no wonder he wanted that much. But at some point, you gotta ask yourself, is it really worth that much cap space being taken up just for him to not show up late in playoff series? At some point, you gotta stop trying to run it back and realize this isn't working. The third reason is, he vetoed a trade that would have potentially brought Mikko Rantanen to the Leafs. You better believe this left a bad taste in a lot of fans' mouths, and as a result of this, a lot of Leafs Nation is now glad Marner's gone. You can expect Marner to get more than a few boos when he returns with the Vegas Golden Knights next season. With all that being said, it's not like Marner didn't give Leafs fans a lot of good memories. He was a very skilled playmaker, and he was a hero to the younger generation in Southern Ontario. Whenever you went to a Leafs game, you would be sure to see lots of young children wearing the 16, and I'm sure they're gonna be sad that he's gone. It's a shame he wasn't able to hoist the Stanley Cup with the team he grew up cheering for, and it's a shame things didn't work out in Toronto, but I wish him all the best in Las Vegas. Now moving on to Insigne. Toronto FC finished the 2021 campaign with only 6 wins, which is pretty pathetic. So hearing that Lorenzo Insigne would be joining the team midway through the 2022 season was welcome news for Reds fans. Insigne was in the prime of his career, and fresh off a win at the Euros with the Italian national team. For those of you who don't know, Toronto has a very large Italian population, so the news that Insigne and fellow Italian Federico Bernardeschi were going to be joining the team was very exciting. Not only were they joining the team, they were going to be the new faces of the franchise. This is what TFC needed to get back to the promised land. This is what Toronto and Major League Soccer as a whole needed. I think it goes without saying that expectations were sky high. The Italian era started strong with a 4-0 win over Charlotte, with Bernardeschi scoring his first goal for the club. I'm very sad I wasn't able to attend this game because I was flying out of Toronto on this day, but the point is, for the first time in a while, there was optimism in the Toronto fanbase. The team went 3-2-1 over their next 6 games. Things were looking good. Then they went winless in their last 6 and missed the playoffs. But it was okay. There was still optimism in the air. Next year, this team would be contending for a cup. They only won 4 games. Let me reiterate. They only won 4 out of 34 games. They lost 15 of their last 16. So at this point, people were starting to wonder what the hell was going on. The club paid top dollar for Insigne, only for them to start averaging less than a goal per game. This acquisition was supposed to improve the team, not give them their worst season in franchise history. But on the more optimistic side of things, once you have such a terrible season, you can only really go up, right? 2024 was a bit of an improvement. The team actually came within 3 points of making the playoffs, and I even got to see Insigne score a goal in person. But still, 2024 was another disappointing season where the team played well below their expectations. And that brings us up to 2025, where the team is having yet another abysmal season. I genuinely do not understand how I get excited to watch every game. So that brings us up to now. On July 1st, Toronto FC and Lorenzo Insigne mutually agreed to terminate his contract. So why was this era such a failure? Well, partly it wasn't his fault. He was dealing with injuries some of the time. But also, as far as us fans know, there was a lot of internal drama between him and his teammates. Egos clashing and all that. And also, his playstyle just wasn't working. His go-to was usually to cut to his right and then bend the ball inside the far post. This worked for him for a while, but he just isn't as fast as he used to be, so defenders started easily countering this. So this whole my way or the highway mentality, coupled with an inability to change his playing style, made fans start to turn on him. And so I think his departure was ultimately for the best. At least the team gets an international roster spot out of it, and he still got that bag. So there you have it, my thoughts on the departures of Mitch Marner and Lorenzo Insigne. 2 stories of high hopes and ultimately disappointment. Now, I'm not trying to disrespect either of these guys, because at the end of the day, pro athletes work very, very hard. But given how much talent and promise both of these guys showed, it's interesting to think about just what could have been. But, you know, life goes on. I hope these guys find success with their new teams, and I'm hopeful that one day, the sun will shine on us Toronto sports fans once again. It might even be sooner than we think.